found Maryland, Oregon, and California are the only states that do. They have these requirements, and Oregon and California are the long-term ones. Maryland just did this last year. We just did an undercover, I don't know if any of you saw that anywhere, but we just did an undercover investigation. I didn't use students for that. I had a lot of students that wanted to do it, but I told them all, yeah, you can go call Dr. Witt, and if he says he's okay with you going undercover into a commercial tax preparation, then you can do it. They're like, he's not going to say yes. I'm like, yeah, he's not going to say yes. Exactly. But we did. We copied. There was an IRS version of this. The Attorney General in New York did it last year. But we had our staff pose as taxpayers with two very basic earned income tax credit scenarios and went undercover into these sites. We went to 13, and it was raw. All of them were negligently prepared. All of them made mistakes. But 11 out of the 13 just committed actionable criminal federal fraud, meaning there's a huge incentive to jack up the refund of the person right in front of you if I go into your store, because you take a chunk of it. You get paid more the more you get. The problem is the main tax credit, the main way to make it higher is the earned income tax credit, which is a child-based credit that's supposed to go to the parent of the child who's with the kid for more than 6 months out of the year. That's the rule. So we're very clear going in the door. We fill out the little thing. We have one kid. The guy in our scenario had one. The woman had two. Most of them didn't even ask. They're legally required to ask these questions to determine who's eligible to claim that credit. So we would offer the information. Now my daughter just leaves with me on the weekends. Is that okay? No. The answer to that is no. It's not okay. That credit goes to the parent who's got the kid more. But 11 out of 13 of ours were just like, sure, she's your kid, isn't she? What happens is, that's not just defrauding the government. The rightful parent gets to their tax preparer the next week. And they fill it out and they ask them, and it gives them the Social Security number, and it bounces back. It says, sorry, that Social Security number's already been claimed. Then it's a 6 to 9 to 10 month process to petition the IRS to go prove you have to document how many days during the week, when you had the kid with you. The IRS is intimidating to everyone. It's especially intimidating to lower income families and individuals. The idea of an official long-term petition to the Internal Revenue Service rarely gets followed through on. So it's just like a race to the tax preparer. And the tax preparers are happy to oblige because they charge a fortune. We got charged $405 for 35 minutes of work at a Jackson Hewitt. That's one of the supposedly reputable national chains. $405.
Next question. How old were you when you first started getting really involved in these kind of charitable?
You know, it's funny, I read a ton during college and I did all right, but I wouldn't have hired me. I wouldn't have been able to get the job that we have available at the end of the year every year. It wasn't until I came back to Alabama after law school. I say I came back, I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Went to college in Philadelphia and law school in Connecticut, and then came down here, which is where my family's from. Fascinated with government and public policy. I started practicing law just to start paying off student loans. And I just quickly wanted to get involved in as much as I could in government and public affairs. And this just became a fascination. I taught a course in the Honors College just for fun, and I loved it. I thought it was really fun. And I started thinking more about kind of a model like this and how you really could, this sounds sort of corny, but you really could revolutionize the provision of service to a state using campus collaborations across the state, especially a state like this where we have two-year schools all over the place. We've got campuses in a huge number of communities across the state. And all of them talk a good game, meaning most of the archways to get into our campuses say like scholarship, service, and whatever. They all talk about service, and most of them are taking it a lot more seriously in the last decade. We never get turned down for our partnership offers. And we get a lot of calls from provosts and deans and sometimes presidents of community colleges say, can you help us come think through what else we can do for our community? Which is a great position to be in. I mean, there's a lot.
You ran for Alabama State Treasurer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you plan on running for any other office?
I'm thinking about it. I'm torn. I mean, I hated running. You spend your almost the whole time raising money. which I hate doing. I love raising money for impact, but I don't take any money from impact. I feel like I can be much more aggressive about it, and it's more exciting. It's different when you're calling for money for yourself.
Would you run for treasurer again then?
I don't know. I think I probably. I mean, I came up with a lot of, I mean, they're cool to me. I'm nerdy, but at least interesting to other people, things to do. But
One more question.
from the Montgomery connection.
What do you think the single biggest problem facing Alabama?
Well, it's sort of a two-part. The way we tax ourselves and the way those taxes end up in or not in education, which the tax structure is under sort of the stranglehold of our state constitution. Our state constitution makes it very hard for us to be a democratic state, which was the purpose of the Constitution. That's why that convention took place in 1901. I don't know how much you all have studied that, but during the populist revolt and really revolution in the late 1800s, African Americans and poor whites created a coalition and won a governor's race. And it was so shocking and abhorrent to the industrial powers and agricultural powers that they literally robbed that group of that governor's office and then decided, wait, we had no idea this was going to happen. I can't imagine, we had no thought that white people were going to align themselves with black people, which would make them more powerful than us. We have to change the laws so this doesn't happen again. Let's call a convention. And this isn't just me talking, I'm telling you in the voice of the people who called the convention. This convention is being called to make sure black people are disenfranchised. Someone stands up and says, by what you're suggesting, you're also going to disenfranchise a lot of lower income whites, a lot of poor whites. So be it. This is about landholders and industrialists. And it's made it very hard to govern. It locks all the power in the legislature. And we have a lot of good things going for us in this state. You couldn't make up a better state than Alabama in every category other than the way we tax ourselves and the way we fund education, which are both completely surmountable. There's no mystery to this. There are a lot of states to look to. And it doesn't mean we have to become a high-tax state. We should always have low property taxes. You could double them and they wouldn't be 49th. So I always tell people, I love being 50th. I think we should have basement property taxes. I just think they need to be closer to 49th and have that money earmarked and dedicated for things that work beautifully well, like the Reading Initiative, the Math, Science, Technology Initiative that started in North Alabama, which does an incredible job no matter what the demographic, no matter how poor the area, it's paid off. But it's not ramped up to scale right now.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.